Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hanging Out in the Garage. This time in the garage we're going to be taking a look at a new to me air intake that I just picked up. So hang on, we'll be right back and let's roll that intro. Okay, welcome back. What we're doing this week is I've been looking at this air intake from Harley, the Screaming Eagle. I've looked at this thing for several years and just never would pull the trigger on it because it's a $500 intake. And I just thought that was a bit much. But I actually found one for way less than half. Well, I'm not going to say way less than half. It's less than half. I picked this up for 225 bucks. And this same part sells for $4.99 plus tax. And I paid, like I said, $225 no tax. Picked it up used. But it's still in great shape. And this is the Screaming Eagle Extreme Ventilator. I believe that's what they call it. It's in great shape. The black still looks good. The brush looks fine. The filter, it's a Canadian filter. It's been cleaned and re-oiled. I may replace it at some point, but as of right now, I think it'll work just fine. I'm pleased. I'm very pleased with this purchase. And like I said, I've been wanting this for a long time. I like the looks of them. I think that'll have a lot more airflow than what my current one does now. And I have a high flow on it now, but it's not as much as this. But like I said, I've eyeballed this for a long time, and I'm glad I found this. But the one thing I am going to do as I'm mounting this on the bike, I'm going to do the crankcase bypass and try to cut down on some of that oil that goes back into your engine. Not only the oil, but hot air, and we all know that combustible engines like cold air. So if I can avoid dumping that hot air back into the engine and also some of that oil, then that's not a bad thing. But when I do this mod, I'm going to do a catch can. I'm not going to just do the T off the back of this, tee them together, and then run a hose out the bottom of the engine or bottom of the bike, or to the rear. For one thing, I don't want oil that can possibly get on a tire. Oil and tires and asphalt don't mix too well. I also don't want oil splattering all over the bike. And if I can be a little bit more environmental friendly by putting a catch can on there, granted that's probably between an oil change, which I would probably check at every oil change, there might be 4 drops of oil in there, who knows, maybe more than that, maybe less. But, hey, we do what we can do to save the environment. But that being said, now you can do this mod, the crankcase bypass. You can do that modification literally for 20 bucks or less. But me being me, no, it's costing me more than 20 bucks. For one thing, I'm using stainless steel hardware. That's the little NPT to barb connectors. Most people use brass, which brass is fine. There's nothing wrong with brass. But I just like stainless steel. So I'll be using stainless steel. The T, where the hoses come together and then drop into the catch can, that is stainless steel. The hose that I will be using is steel braided hose, which I don't know if you all have ever bought steel braided hose, but that crap's expensive. And you can't get just little bitty pieces. I got the smallest amount that I could find, and it was like 30 bucks for a roll of it. And that was with the with the clamps as well. But still, for what I paid for the hose, you can do the entire mod if you just use brass connectors, no catch can, and run a rubber hose. Just a fuel line. So like I said, I don't do anything cheap, I guess. I figure it's my bike. This is the intake I've wanted for a really long time. and I don't want something to look cheesy on it. So I'm going to do braided lines coming off of it, stainless steel hardware, and a catch can. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart and get this back plate over to the drill press, get it on a vise, and start drilling these holes in the side of this, and then running a tap in there and making some threads. So I'll pause this camera and move it over to the drill press, and when I'm ready, I'll turn it back on and let you all watch as I drill a couple of holes and make some threads. So everybody just hang on. Be right back. All right, I'll end up drilling 2 holes. I'll start out with this first one, the smaller bit, kind of as a pilot hole, and then I'll move on to the bigger bit. Now, it's really important that you put a little bit of cutting oil on here. Doesn't take a lot, just put it on there. As you can see, it's dripping down. Isn't going to hurt anything. I got everything tied down with this vise, so we should be good to go. Let's try cutting this first hole. All right, next thing we're going to be ready to cut some threads in. I'll be using this to do it. Let me pause the camera once again, get some of these metal shavings cleaned up, and we'll tap this out. Okay, now we're ready to tap that hole out, and let's add some threads in. Once again, going to use a little bit of cutting oil. Just run it across that tap. Doesn't take a whole lot. And then you want to get that started as straight as you can possibly get it. And just take your time. All right, I can feel it bite in there a little bit. And it starts biting, just kind of rotate back and forth. Add a little more. Okay, I have cleaned this up with brake fluid. I've also drilled and tapped the other side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill these old oil passages with just RTV. All right, those holes are now filled. And I'm also going to use a little bit of this RTV around these threads as I put it in, just to seal that up really good. That ought to work just fine. I'll get to this other side on there, and then we'll get ready for the next step, which will be cutting some braided line. I'll be back in a bit. Okay, my steel braided hose was the last piece that was missing. It finally arrived. I've already cut a piece here. I just cut a piece that would go from here to here, just like so. Just now, I've not got it all the way up on there, just to show you. And then put a piece of tape in the middle where I want to cut it to put the catch can. I don't know if you all ever cut steel braided hose. I mean, it's just a rubber hose, but with the steel braiding on it. Only I've ever cut it was with a hatchet. I'm sure there's probably some type of tubing cutter or something would probably work on that, but for my purposes, I'm going to use a hatchet and a 3-pound sledgehammer. And hang on a second, and I'll point this camera down to the floor and let you see what I'm fixing to do. Now, I'm just going to hold it on a little block of wood. I'm going to take the little hatchet. I'm going to try to center that tape. Kind of hold this down, and then just whack the far out of it. And there we have it. It's cut in half. All right. That's attached. Now I just need to cut a small piece of hose to go between the catch can and that T right there. I mean, just a couple of inches will be enough. I'll be right back. Okay. Catch can's installed. And this will set up on the bike somewhat like that. Now this won't hang down quite as low because this braided hose has to go around some electronics that's right there at your throttle body. So it'll kind of bend up just a little bit like that. So when it's up on the bike, I think the catch can is probably going to set about in that area right there, which I think is pretty decent. Like I said, this can be done a whole lot cheaper than this setup right here. Braided hose is ridiculous. Now the kit that I bought, it had the braided hose, it had these connectors, the clamps as well. I may move this one a little bit so I don't have to see that, the screw on that one. And this one too as well. I may roll it back a little bit. But I guess the next thing will be is get this mounted up on the bike. And I'll come back once I have it mounted and let you see how it looks up on the bike. Okay, now for the final thing, I'm going to get the new Screaming Eagle air filter mounted up to the bike. Take this factory breather off. Now it is a high flow, so it's had the kit put into it, but it still looks like the stock filter that came with it when it was new. I'll give you a look at it. That is the stock filter cover from this year model. Actually, it's from several year models. But I'm gonna turn the camera off, swap it out, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, had to do a couple of modifications on the hose. Had to shorten it just a little bit more than what I had it originally cut. So the catch can was dropping down so far it was hitting the cam chest cover. And so I had, like I said, had to trim it down just a little bit more, but it's on. So how does that look? And down there's the catch can. And it does not rub on anything. I do like the looks of that Screaming Eagle air cleaner. Like I've said, I've liked that for a long time. I just couldn't see paying $500 for it. I'm sorry, Harley, but I just don't think that's a $500 part. Looks good. $500. I don't know. That's a bit pricey. Anyway, that'll do it for this week of hanging out in the garage. I think the next thing I'll probably be doing to the bike is once I've done the stage 2, I've been doing a break-in on the cams. Some say you have to, some say you don't. I just haven't been crazy with it. The bike runs really good. I've got about 150 miles on it since I've done the cams, but it's been really cold and really rainy. I'll let you see what I mean, you can see out here today, it's gloomy looking and raining. So that's kind of what we've been dealing with. But the next thing, when I hit 500 miles on this stage 2, it's probably not necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to throw the bike back up on the lift. Going to change the oil in it. It's not due. The transmission with the primary, I'm not going to touch them because I done an oil change back in the fall. I think I haven't got 800 miles on this oil. But I'm going to go ahead and change it just to look, see if I'm getting any metal shavings or anything after the stage 2. Probably take the oil filter, cut it open, take a look in it, see if I'm seeing any metal. But like I said, that'll do it for this week. Everybody stay tuned, and if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe. Y'all take care. We'll see you.